but this is the kind of stuff that's actually good for your liver. So go for it.
Oh no.
Now what we're doing here is we're just pouring our finished tea into our brewing vessel. Fancy name for a big glass jar. And then we're going to add some of our finished kombucha in here to inoculate this tea. And like I said, about 10 to 15%. Doesn't have to be exact. I've poured up to 25%, you know. Got to measure it, be that specific. It'll still come out delicious. And then we're going to take our culture, and like I said, the daughter culture had a bunch of little air pockets and browning logs, so I'm going to stick with the mother culture on this. And I've read recently that the original culture, or each culture that's produced, like mother or daughter, will produce like 30 batches of tea. So that's what occasionally I'll notice. If I notice that the mother looks better than the daughter, you know, I'll get rid of the mother, compost that, you know, grow it out in the woods behind our house, and use the daughter. And like I said, you can use the spent culture, the one that you're not using to brew, and use it as a skin treatment. My wife likes to take sections of it and rub it on her face. The acids of it tone your skin. I heard people say it's good for acne, and I've even messed around with when I was having this spurt. It was weird. I was doing this juicing. I was doing a lot of green juice, and I noticed like little sporadic patches of fuzzies coming back on my head. So I'm like, ooh, I want to encourage this. And I heard that kombucha is really good for hair growth. So I started, when I would take the culture out, before I chucked it, I would take it and rub it on my head, and then fling it out to the yard, and just let it sit there. You know, might be just placebo. I know, right? the kombucha yarmulke. Until I get pulled over for smelling like a brewery. Oh, man. So now that we got our kombucha culture floating around here, you know, that's what I like to do, is just make sure it's near the surface. And if you notice that's poked above the surface and there, you know, it's right out in the open air, take a little bit of the finished ferment and pour that over there. And that's pretty much going to be the foundation for the new culture to start growing on there. And I've seen in videos and pictures people who just let their cultures go and don't divide them out. And they end up like a stack like that thick. It's ridiculous of cultures sandwiched one on top of another. And it looks kind of neat. But in reality, what's happening is those ones that are stuck in the middle of this big old stack are not receiving food and oxygen, and they're not doing their thing properly, and they could cause the other ones to become contaminated or negatively affect the culture. So I like to, every time I do a batch, I separate them and get rid of one or the other. So that way I'm always starting fresh and keeping one going. And then that's fun because you can do all sorts of other things with it. Makes a decent frisbee. And now that we got that set up, all we're doing is covering it over, and these cloths, I apologize, they looked a lot better before we drove here. You know, these things, I was so excited, I was like, oh, they look like something from a craft fair. And then, yeah, we hit a few bumps and that was over with. They got all stained up, but don't worry about it, just affects the way they look.
And they should be damp?
No, they actually shouldn't.
Oh,
this was a result of the shaking up process, but it'll be fine. And then I just secure that with a rubber band. Some people like to use big open Pyrex bowls. The author of this book, again, Kombucha Phenomenon, she likes to use just open bowls. And her theory on that, which I think is kind of neat, is that the wider surface area you have, you're going to have a larger kombucha with a smaller surface of tea. So it's more to, you know, more kombucha to rapidly process that tea. So you can probably get ferments going a lot quicker. So that's a neat way to do it. I like the jar method. It's more compact. You know, it's got this cool rim here, so the rubber band locks right in there, and it's easier to handle and get in and out of the closet, especially when there's like 2 gallons of tea in there. I do double the recipe I gave you, so it's 24 cups of finished tea, then plus the amount that I reserved and gave back to the tea. So, and this will produce like.
Hardware store.
What's that?
You just got that at a hardware store.
Yeah, well, I got a warehouse store like in their kitchen section, and it came with this, you know, fancy glass lid, which I don't have the heart to throw out. I don't know what to do with it. It's just taking up space in my house, but who knows? maybe one day we'll come up with some better thing, and this can make a nice, raw cookie jar. So that's pretty much it. That's the gist of it. And then I'll take any questions you guys